Hey, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Where's Your Heart, where we champion vulnerability as a core human strength. And we welcome everybody to today's show. We are chiming all the way in with nothing but gratitude and appreciation to have everybody chiming in. So if you know anyone that needs to hear a message, a positive message, someone who wants to connect around our topic for today, which is what is blackness, which is going to be great. Make sure that you are subscribing to the channel right now on YouTube, that you are liking this post, and that you're sharing it with anyone who you think needs to hear such a message right now. So it's been an interesting week since we've last had the opportunity to connect with everyone, and we're going to dive into some of the topics and some of the conversations that have been had, and we're going to really kind of bring it around to one big question that Royce and I have been talking about for a while, and Teresa has chimed in on. Actually, I'm yapping. I haven't even introduced my co-host right now. I apologize that. So apologize about that. I am excited.
It's a good show today. And I'm sitting here looking at our YouTube channel wondering what's not working. So I'm going to continue figuring that out.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm really excited about this because Royce and I have been talking about, like, to me, I think fundamentally a dialogue around this question is where things need to start. So the fact that we're having it, we have great guests that are going to be coming on. We're going to have 5 people up, and I'm really excited about it. So that being said, always an honor and a pleasure to be able to share space with the 2 human beings who I love so much that are here. We have the Royce, that's DAROYCE, the Royce.
Also, rap name.
Right, exactly. And the always awesome Teresa Robinson.
Hello.
Yeah. Who is
we have a producer.
Yes. Yes. Well, not do that, but just flavor, levity, like the laughter, man. Silliness is good, man. So we should always be like a kid. So I like the levity that you're gonna be bringing to the show. So yeah, it's about that time. Royce, you good?
I don't know if we're not approved for live yet on YouTube or what, but it's not feeding. So
no,
I'm ignoring that. We're just gonna be on Facebook.
Hey, listen, guess what?
On Facebook then.
But we still have a lot of our regulars that are chiming in. So we got Gerard, Gerard Legrone. I can't even say his name. He's my best friend. I mean, this is really bad. This just lets you know what the rest of the show is going to be like.
Live, everyone.
Yes. My brother Gerard chiming in. Appreciate it, fam. Always a loyal listener.
Oh my gosh, this is where we're at, y'all.
Yeah.
This is where we are. Already. OMG. I don't know do the kids still say that? Do they still say OMG?
Yeah,
am I dating myself right now? Okay.
Yeah, but they don't even know what it means.
Do it in this house.
It's true.
Oh man. So it's been an interesting week, but as we always do, we want to start off where we're talking about gratitude. Gratitude. I always want to start off with what we're grateful for. So, would anyone like to go first? Because I've been talking way too much.
I've been talking way too much. Well, you know what? Royce is actually the official, co-host, so I'm gonna let him go first.
Royce, let's go.
Throw me under the bus.
Yes.
I see. I mean, so I'm grateful today because Sarah and I actually took the time this morning to go for a walk together down in the Bosque. For those of you, for the non-Albuquerque, New Mexico folks, the Bosque is this beautiful area along the Rio Grande that goes through Albuquerque. Man, it's so funny. Like when I speak Spanish, I can. I'm trained as a singer, so I can sit there and reproduce everything really well. But when I'm speaking English, I fuck everything up like a Californian. I butcher Spanish like a Californian when I'm speaking English. But yeah, so anyway, there we are. There's today. But so I'm grateful for a good night's sleep and a walk with Sarah in the Bosque this morning. It was gorgeous, and it was just nice and chill. Really cool.
Perfect. Perfect.
Teresa,
All right,
you're up
Teresa.
now. You ain't
Yeah,
you
All
ain't
right,
I
sleeping
am.
You
again.
got it. You got it.
Honestly, for me, considering how the past like 7 months has been for this country, I am grateful to work. I am grateful to get orders, to actually be able to create and do design again. I am incredibly grateful to feel, in a sense, needed. I've been needing that for a while, so
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that, to be able to be
Awesome.
working again.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Get that bag. Get that bag.
Yeah, yeah. Dollar
It's
dollar bills, y'all.
Woo! Yes, 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 yes,
This
yes.
show's gonna be
all of
interesting
that.
today. Oh
Yes,
my
this is
goodness.
what is Blackness. This is how we're starting off, y'all. This is how we starting off. Man, gratitude. So for me, my gratitude actually blends into last week now for me. So I'm really grateful for just due diligence. I've been having a lot of conversations with people, and I always appreciate when people take the time to dig deep, to find a
Mm,
level of depth, to ask questions that they normally wouldn't ask, but questions that actually come from what another person is saying, so you can get a better way of understanding how someone thinks and how they show up. So that being said, I'm grateful for that because I've had multiple conversations this week and being able to do that, and had a chance to spend a week with my other best friend. I mean, I have two equally as important, and I love them both. With my friend in Ohio, so we just
mm,
reconnected, just spent time, and just shared space, man. And it's amazing because it's like this with Gerard as well, but with Travis, like when we're together, man, we don't even have to say anything. It's just like being in the room around each other and just watching TV. It's an interesting relationship that's hard to describe, but it's very true and very honest. So just that level of depth is important to me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But one of the things that we all connect on is hip hop music and old school hip hop music. And so there's one person who has
ah,
been who's been in the news over the past week, and that's our
yep.
brother Ice Cube, right? And so I'm gonna blend right into last week now, right now, and oh, we have our in the second person in the green room, so we're good to go.
Yay!
Just to let everybody know,
Yay!
Mary's in the building.
All
Mary's in the building.
righty.
Yeah, so Ice Cube has been in the news lately because of his conversations that he had with the Trump administration,
Yep.
and I'm sure everybody's being fed information around that and stuff like that. I'm just really hurt, to be quite honest with you. It hurts me that for someone who has been so diligent, who has been so consistent in his messaging, not only within the black community, but also the broader community. Like people forget, Ice Cube had a 10-year run where he was creating some of the most influential and highest selling family films
Mhm.
Yeah.
that cross pollinated all different kinds of genres. And he still never changed his tune and where he stood from and his narrative from when he was with NWA, right?
Yeah.
Always been consistent. So within a week or 10 days for him to get so much, I don't mind the criticism, but it's like, his credibility was taken away so quick when he has a 25, 30-year, 35-year track record and being
Yeah.
consistent in action and putting up against um, racism, systemic racism, overt racism, racism from police officers, white supremacy. He's always talked about this. So that part for last week, I'm like, man, we have to do a better job of our own due diligence before we start writing people off. And I'm specifically speaking to the Native Black American community. So that's my last week now that ties into my gratitude because it made me reflect on I want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence when I'm before I come to a particular conclusion. So yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Torian is
No,
rambling, so please step in.
no, that I'm still trying to solve YouTube, but I got to put it
Oh,
down.
I
yeah,
was
I'll
actually
try. I'll
I
try.
was I was actually going to
No,
say
there's
that
no
I
way to
found
solve
it
it.
interesting with that particular topic because there's two parts of this for me.
Mm,
I appreciate that Ice Cube is putting aside the fact that a man that is, Trump.
He's a racist fuckbag.
Yes, there you go. So pretty much, I mean, there's a sense of people thinking, why even waste energy? Regardless that he's the president, why even waste energy to have a discussion about what you want to do? Because it's Trump. He's just, and honestly, if he did jump on the bandwagon, if he was like, yeah, I'm liking what I hear, is it really because he cares, or he's pandering to the Black community? So, I saw it on two sides of, I felt bad because Ice Cube's doing what he's always done. And he's just out there saying, look, I'm looking for people who have power, that have a position to help me do this. And if Trump's people want to talk to me about it, I'm more than open and willing to. It doesn't necessarily mean that he supports that ticket. It doesn't mean any of that. He is looking for support for what he's doing.
Well,
so
the interview that I saw, that I read, so he was quoted in this interview. He said, look, I don't think either party's getting it right. And so I'm going to work with whoever's in power to make the biggest difference that I can. Like what I heard in it, I'm not sure he said this, but what I heard is, I know that I have power and I'm going to use it with whoever I have to use it in order to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Like that's what I heard.
And he honestly, I saw it with Chris Como. That's how I found out about it. And, even when he introduced him, there was this sense of, well, he's joined the Trump team. Like he's on Trump's side. And he was like, he was quick to correct him. He's like, that's kind of a misleading, intro on what I'm trying to do. So, I have to say for Ice Cube, he's always been outspoken. He's always said what he wanted to say, and it hasn't changed in all these years.
Well, and the other thing about that whole thing is the way the Trump campaign, without consent, will co-opt people. Like Fauci got co-opted for a recent ad. This stuff with Ice Cube, it's coming, out of the Trump campaign. Oh, Ice Cube's with us now too. Like it's always this co-opting people and grabbing them without consent and using them without consent. When what he consented to apparently was a conversation around what needs to be done, not, oh, you can use my name as,
however you want to use it.
Pander.
Yeah.
So it really, like, it exposed several things a lot and that are problematic, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I guess for me, and it can be positioned, anything can be weaponized, especially in the environment that we're in right now. I mean, I've even had conversations about our show that I feel has been utilized in the conversation as a weapon, which isn't our intent. We've spoken about this, right? But the fact that we are holding space for a broad variety of conversations, and we want people to show up in a way that is vulnerable, we're still projecting and being generative and being true to our intent, where I think we're in such a time right now where people are holding on to identity, right? But they're holding on to it as if they can't identify in other ways. It's like, I have this one thing or these two things, and I am going to hold on to them with dear life instead of saying, hey, I have them and they're still tools if I need them. But you know what? In times like this, people need to be talking more. Even if it is the Trump administration, even if it is the Biden administration and you don't agree with them, because the only way we're going to get real change is going to be, yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but at some point we have to communicate. There isn't a relationship on the face of this planet that exists in a healthy, sustainable way that does not involve constant and consistent communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although this is the same team that sent an invitation for Tupac to attend, a rally. I'm just going to leave that there.
Yes. Some people are out of touch.
Yeah.
And maybe they really believe, because there are people that think that Tupac is still alive somewhere. I've heard stories about him hanging out.
Funny. Kamala Harris went and was asked who is the greatest rapper alive, and she said Tupac and tried to correct herself. So the Trump campaign, to make matters worse, is like, well, we'll leave him an invitation for a rally. And I'm like, yes, I'm sure his family thought that was real cute. So, yeah, you got to love that the empathy and respect that the Trump campaign has for a person.
Oh boy, yeah,
Oh
man,
yeah.
yeah. All right, so we have another comment from one of our viewers,
Dialogue is the
Kat
healer.
Gaddis. She says dialogue is the healer, right?
It's
Dialogue
true.
is where it all comes together, right? So, Kathy Gaddis, person I know, she champions and actually has something called study circles, which is something that most people should have. Is essentially you sit down, people are coming together, they're coming from different neighborhoods, different backgrounds, and she's leading the charge in this area around this conversation. So she's 100% correct.
Yeah.
Dialogue truly is the
Absolutely.
healer. Yeah. So that being said, we've really been setting up this conversation, I feel, from every show that we've had. Today's topic, which is one that's near and dear to my heart, what is blackness? And obviously, Torian forgot to put a question mark at the end of that question.
Y'all, the next 2 weeks, let's just put it out there. The next 2 weeks are going to be full of gaffes.
It's all good.
Let's just admit it. We have a new account for our StreamYard.
There we go.
Look at that quick production right there.
Look at that. He fixed it already. Next week, Teresa gets to push all the buttons. So we're going to be giving us.
Right on top of that, Rose. Okay.
No, but Rick, this is a really important question, I feel, because we have been using the term black, the term white, in this huge, broad stroke, and we're taking it and saying this is where it fits for my narrative and this narrative. And so I just think we should be clear when we say, okay, black, what is it? What is blackness? Who has the ability to take Candace Owens her black card? Or I'm trying to think of some of the other people that
Look, y'all just pulled some shit on me that needs to be said out loud.
Oh, you mean the good times test? The good times test.
You're testing Royce on his good times knowledge.
Yeah. So
I
so
failed.
basically, I was acting like I was answering the phone, and I was saying cello, and Teresa started laughing, so I automatically knew that she knew what it was, so I kept doing it. Hello.
That one I did not get. I apologize.
I was like, dude, if you know that, okay, man, I might have to get you a black card, bro.
But then we asked him a follow-up. It was, what you talking about, Willis?
I'm like, come on, that was universal too.
Yeah.
Bro.
And that
was universal.
that one I don't feel like even qualifies you for a black card, because that one was that was, you know what I mean?
I got you.
All right. Anyway,
so here's the thing. We
have
have
a comment over there. We got
another comment.
We do got a comment. Oh, we got Sunny
cities.
chiming in. Consistency is fundamental in the healing journey. Yes.
Yeah, yep.
Yes.
It takes time to overlay the positive experiences in the brain. That's it. It's about time and repetitions, persistence, consistency, all those things. Yeah. Sansiris is nailing it there.
She's nailing it. She is hitting it head on. So we
got to hit this. It's 420, y'all.
We got to hit it. We have two amazing guests. They are both in the green room. They are ready to go. I am going to let you guys introduce our amazing guests, and we can jump into this topic because everybody's here ready to go. Hit it.
Teresa, which one? I'm pointing the wrong way now. Teresa, who do you want to introduce?
I wasn't sure which one I was introducing, or if I was doing any introductions. Ooh, lucky me. Then I have to go with Mr. Hasani. He is, oh my goodness, a U.S. Navy veteran and a local actor and entertainer right here in Albuquerque. Some of his treasured roles on the theater stage were Donkey in Shrek, Sebastian in The Little Mermaid, and Horse in The Full Monty. That performance won him the Vivian Vance Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Musical. And theater is not what he does, it is who he is. And if you can't find Hasani around town, just pull out your telescope, look amongst the stars, and I'm sure you'll find him.
Yeah, and there we go. Hasani was a good word.
I love the breakdown of the name. I love it. Hasani.
You're not going to call ice on me, honey.
Exactly. And he won't have that problem that Kamala apparently seems to be having right now. So you will not have whatever. Oh,
And so,
get on that too.
the Royce, you got our next guest.
All right, so y'all, I'm just for the record, she wrote this because I'm gonna have to say these words, but these are things that I will not say about somebody unless they wanted me to say them about me. All right. She's a 100-year-old cougar that is a Colorado Springs native, and she's called Albuquerque home since 1993. And she says she's in Albuquerque on purpose, not because her car broke down here, which, just for the record, is a legitimate way to increase our population here in Albuquerque. Her comedic style is silly, sassy, and smart. Current events, politics, family, neighborhood, and personal observations are all targets. And just for the record, I think I've seen her live here in Albuquerque. Now that I was reading her bio, I'm like, wait, wasn't she at, I got to ask her what venue she's been at. Anyway, okay, a mild-mannered software consultant by day, she steps up to the stage as a stand-up comedian in 2004 and has never regretted it. She travels throughout New Mexico and the western U.S., visiting thrift stores and staging mixing jokes, stories, and sometimes song, leaving laughter in her wake. Let's welcome Mary Byrd.
Mary! Yeah!
You made me say 100-year-old cougar. That is just not okay.
Oh. Wait a minute.
We don't have voice on you.
Mary.
Uh-oh.
Is the volume up?
Volume is up.
It's on her end.
Yeah.
It's like we have to
also, just for the record, for the audience, also today I sent links at like 40 minutes before the show, and then the email got sucked into the ether. So our guests did not have time to test their stuff today. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
that one was mine. I didn't double check it.
Can't hear you yet. I know she can hear us.
Yeah.
She can hear us.
Let's see. I feel like I should know what to do, but this isn't Zoom.
Nope.
I can't be like, hit that microphone thing.
Oh, okay. So if it is on Zoom, Mary, I'm going to walk you through it. Or not on Zoom, on StreamYard. Down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see mic and camera. Click that, and then it'll pull up a set thing where you have camera and then audio. Click on audio, and then you should have a pull-down tab, and you should find your headset there.
She's like, that's a lot of instructions.
It is.
There was a lot of stuff.
All right.
Gotta love live TV.
I know. This is tech.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's dive in here while she messes with that and tries to fix it.
Yes. We're praying for you, Mary. We're praying for you.
Volume turned up.
We're praying for you.
Is the volume turned up?
Yep, there we go. You sound good, Hasani.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Now, if you just get married.
Oh my gosh.
we
Mary's muted now on the show, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she's now muted on the show.
Let's undo that.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Hallelujah!
When retrograde so hard. It's been such a hard couple of weeks. Delightful to be with you all. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
Woo! Okay, so let's jump right in because we have 30 minutes to address a huge question.
Can I just say one thing before we start? Is that
Yes.
I have to let you all know that Frederick Douglass and Tupac have been quarantined here with me.
I'm jealous as hell.
I was going to bring up, yes, Frederick
Well,
Douglass.
you got swag, baby. I'm good.
You're good.
Can I join your bubble for a little bit? I got some shit I gotta ask.
Hasani and Mary, thank you for being here today. We're going to have this is going to be a very interesting topic.
Yes.
What is blackness?
What is
I'm
blackness?
sure everybody has their definition.
All right, so we're gonna start with Royce. Royce, tell us, what is blackness?
Really? You're gonna look at the white guy?
Go on, Roy.
Damn, I'm just saying.
All right, so
Gotta include you.
here was my research for this show, was like chewing on the difference between, because black and white are these two. First off, they're part of a binary, and anytime we see something that's a binary in this country, I'm like, that's bullshit. Fuck off. So the notion of black and white are a construction. They're a social construction. What's interesting to me about them is that while they are both projected identities, meaning we project them onto other people, we see people and we say, we think you're white, we think you're black. But they function very differently because one group is under pressure from the larger society and the other is with that title comes privilege. So you've got, and that's, I mean, that's where our conversations around colorism are really interesting, because you have people of mixed race or mixed ethnicities who can pass as white, and so they can get assigned white privilege in some situations, even when people are shit talking around them, and they're shit talking their mom. And then when we look at the construction of the black identity, it's very different, because you have people genocide, like that's what happened here. People who have been intentionally and deliberately cut off from their culture, killed for trying to perpetuate their culture, and then you have their offspring, like Torians, so you have a huge number of people who are all still remotely enslaved in one degree or another. So you have an identity under pressure. So, like, what is it? I mean, my first comment is, it's like gender. It's bullshit. It's these constructions are really problematic. But I will not be critiquing the black identity, because it's an identity that's been formed under pressure and that people need for comfort and affinity and for being able to have community and have solidarity. So I think there's a lot there. Like, what is it? Explain it to me.
Okay.
That was a lot of babbling from the white guy.
No. It's good. It set a good foundation. We appreciate that, sir. We appreciate it. But I'm curious from our guests, Hasani, Mary, like, please feel free to chime in now, because we really would like to start a dialogue. Obviously, we have 30, 40 minutes, so we're going to just touch the very surface of this. But in your experiences, like, how would you articulate what blackness is?
Yeah.
It's too broad a brush just to decide that because you're black, you have to do this, this, and this. And I think that nobody should be taking anybody's black card, because there's too many different identities within our black community. That is where I would start off with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was listening to a talk about blackness, and one of the panelists was saying that they felt that blackness came from when we were on the auction block. It was a way to sell a product. It's not biological. It's more about power, property, and political stance. But if I want to turn it back to me as the cause and being something more encouraging, empowering, my blackness is a two-sided coin. One side of it, it's bold, it's powerful, it's colorful, it's unlimited. It is what it is. It's just what it is. Like an apple grows on a tree, it is what it is. But then on the other side, to the white people, on the other side of the coin, I'm a threat. I'm intimidating, I'm angry, I'm aggressive. Mary was right, it's too broad. But if you had to put it in some kind of category, it's like an ID, my blackness, my whiteness.
We can't give it up.
Yeah.
We can't give it up.
So I'm trying to find my answer, because I struggle with this every single day. Because we can talk about it from a racial, physical, right? That's our pigmentation. We can talk about it from a social construct or power dynamics in society. You can even separate economics from that, economics and politics, and from that too. And then faith. I mean, we believe things as Native Black Americans here that in other places, a large majority of people who look like us may not necessarily identify with that, or if they do, it's because of direct forced colonization. Same thing that we had here.
I think that there might just be one broad stroke for Black Americans, and that is we're afraid when we see the police behind us.
Mm,
That is one big broad stroke.
mm,
That I'm afraid for my son. I'm afraid for other people of color. When the police, and that is a shame because it wasn't always like that.
mm.
It really wasn't. But that's something that I think is all along the Watchtower.
When I thought
Doesn't
of
matter who we are.
when I thought of Blackness as well, doing some research, the Europeans, they were very intrigued about dark-skinned people from Africa.
Mm.
And they had, when they went to Africa and saw us, our physical attributes are a lot bigger than theirs. And they thought it was unusual, so therefore they felt uncertain, and they needed to exude a power over something that someone or a group of people they didn't understand.
Hmm.
And therefore it became something more about value than the person. And my Blackness, it goes all over the place for me. But again, it's more of trying to put it in a category that can make people feel comfortable. I'm working on a play with a few friends, and we're writing this out. And we're talking about our Blackness and how it's strange that my skin color is a target. I'm not staying home just because of COVID-19. I'm staying home so I can live because of the police. Let's be clear about this. You know, I went to the police academy, Teresa, this is very interesting. I went to the police academy, got a little acting job there at the police academy. They wanted me to play an African-American man driving. They gave me a little fake license and registration and carrying on, and I'm up on the stage driving my car, and I get pulled over by the cops. He pulls his gun out on me, and we go through the whole exercise. Then one of the officers, the seasoned officer, turned red and purple, had the nerve to say, well, when we pull over a car, we don't look at the skin color. We don't know who it is. We're just pulling over a car. And I jumped up and I was like, well, baby, what is it when you see the skin color? Because
something happens.
Mr. Blake, a few months ago, was getting in his car with his children arm's length away, and you shot him 7 times in his back. What are you talking about? It ain't making no sense to me. You sound like Donald Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. My crazy uncle.
I
Crazy
have
uncle.
to say that when this topic came up, I was pretty nervous about it, only because being younger, as I mentioned before last week, I grew up in a predominantly white area, and strangely enough, I didn't know that I needed to be a certain way in order to show that I was Black.
Right.
Already showing that. But I would have to say that most of my defining of who I should be was coming from Black people who would bully me because I didn't sound like they did. I didn't dress like they did. I wasn't and I hate that, the token Black person that white America associates what Black is. Black must be you're either wearing saggy pants, or you might be associated with a gang, or all those.
You refused to get in their box.
Exactly, and I've always
You
been that
refused
way.
to get in their
Frankly, if I
box.
have to be honest, I didn't even know I was supposed to hate white people until I was like well in my 20s, right?
Because we're not
We're
supposed
not
to.
supposed to.
We're not supposed
I
to.
didn't know that was a
It's
thing.
funny.
Teresa, you said something that made me write down something. I lived in Radcliffe, Kentucky, golf course community. Do you not understand? I've had to try not to be black.
Mm.
Wow.
I tried to be the good side of a good black person. You know, even not to be black, I just go along and extra smile, extra niceness, extra for a bit of tolerance. I've had to try not to be black.
It was quite often that I would have people. I don't think the things you realize once you get older, but I didn't realize comments like, "Wow, you're not like other black people.
You didn't
You're
realize.
not. Wow, you speak well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I never expected you to be. I never realized how demeaning those statements are.
Yeah.
Microaggressions.
Yeah. So the topic of what is blackness, I feel we as black people don't even know. I mean, after the conversation is had between, white and black and systemic racism, we as a community are going to have to deal with us as a community. I mean, I love Albuquerque. I love it. I will continue to create events for it. But I have to tell you, I have moments I get so incredibly frustrated with my own community. It's just like they want support, but then they don't want to support. It's like you only get involved with these particular black people, but not these black people.
And I can't keep track.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating. So. What is blackness? I think everybody has come to the conclusion that it's too broad.
Too many. It's too broad.
Teresa, when we're in that store, we don't even say hello to each other. Here in Albuquerque, police, don't get me on that one. Honey, I had a sister almost run me over with her cart and looked me eye to eye and didn't even say hello, how you doing? Sorry, excuse me, fuck you, nothing. Yep. And then when you see black people, because there's only 13 of us here in Albuquerque, but when you see one of us coming the other way and you get close enough, and it's funny, but it almost makes me want to cry, you guys, because I'm tired. They all of a sudden look like Jesus is talking to them, and they can't even see you.
You're not getting the nod? You're not getting the...
Well, the nod happens. The nod happens just about everywhere. It's like, oh, hey.
I like to point out how Royce is looking right now.
I get more hellos from black men than I do black women.
Well, that's because...
If you won't even say hello to me and we go in and out of the store, then when I come out and your ass is getting beaten or a knee on your neck, I can't breathe. How am I supposed to feel? You wouldn't even say hello to me.
Yeah, man. Exactly. But see, and this is why this conversation is so central to me, because Teresa, I know you said once we address systemic racism and white supremacy, I actually think it needs to be reversed, or at least both and. I think that the healing that we need to do within the black community is just as important as addressing the systemic issues.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And when people keep bringing up topics of, and I felt like it became an excuse instead of an actual point, when Black Lives Matter started and started talking about how the police was treating, black citizens in this country, there would be people that would come back and be like, well, what about black on black crime?
What about it? That's too bad too. That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly. I'm just kind of like, yes, we should be talking about that, but that's not what we're discussing right now. And that's what black on black crime has become. It's become an excuse for somebody to use to stop a conversation that's currently in progress.
It has nothing to do.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with black on black crime. It has to do with whataboutism, which is just a distraction, and it's a way to turn an argument back on
exactly.
Like it's gaslighting.
But it is, and I agree with that, because we talked about this at the beginning of the show, that just about anything could be weaponized. But let's reflect that mirror back amongst us within the black community, and Royce as a guest, right? What? Dude, you didn't pass the test.
Oh, Royce, you're from another mother.
You know what I'm saying? You had one question from Good Times. One question.
You didn't get the different strokes one, man.
I did. I'm gonna say I did get that one.
You nailed that.
I didn't come up with it right away.
Nah, you got it.
I knew what it was, and it took me some time to work it out.
Seriously, you got it.
Well, yeah.
Anyway. But I do think when it comes down to this question amongst us, it's I actually think that we should be talking about it more, and we're not. Like we have a very heavy emphasis on the system. I get it. We should,
Mhm.
right?
Still
But
us.
we have local systems within ourselves that we are not formally addressing this. Hassan, I got you. I mean, seriously. And so my question is, why aren't we doing that collectively? And then how can we do it? Because I think it's equally, if not more so important. So Hassani, what were you going to say?
Oh, well, it may not tie directly into it, but I was wanting to talk about Blackness and our young people using the word nigga with
Thank
an
you.
A.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Let's just
If
stop
we're
it.
gonna, if we go in the other direction, talk about my blackness and how empowering it is, and woo woo woo. Why in the hell are we trying to take a negative term and try to use it as a term of endearment because you can put an
No,
A on the end of it?
let's
It's
And
all
just
then
different.
stop
It's
it.
people
different
say
with
it and
the
make
A
you
on
shiver
the
with
end.
their
I
ass.
hate
What
it.
the hell?
Ugh.
I hate it.
I'm sorry, but
And there are
for me
Fun
consequences
is
that's the thing
about
too.
that. But I will say, Tori, I think that in order for the conversation to be had, like I said, I think it comes down to an acceptance of even us, because you even brought up Candace Owens.
Hmm.
I would not think of her as a person that I would spend a lot of time with.
Okay.
She makes my skin crawl when she speaks. But it's America, and everybody,
let's talk.
you know how hard this is for me to say, but everybody has a right to free speech, even though sometimes it sounds crazy. But my point is that in this community there are so many makes of the black community, of individuals within the black community. You got more than one Candace Owens in the black community. She just happens to be more famous and has a platform. So really, when it comes down to it, it's a sense of acceptance, of understanding that there is not one cookie cutter black person. There are many, and you have to accept that they exist in order to start having a conversation.
Conversation.
I mean, honestly, I agree with you when it comes to the topic of systemic racism should be discussed. But I mean, the time's going to come that we're going to have to start discussing, excuse me, why are we pointing the finger at somebody and saying, fix this for us?
Yes.
I feel like we as a community are going to have to start banding together to start opening our own businesses, creating our own banks, really start doing for us, and really creating that wealth for us, and instead of pointing at somebody and saying, you need to provide this for us. But at the same time, I can understand that I do feel government has their place. Police officers is nothing that's going to be created by us. That's a government program. So there has to be a tear down and rebuild of some of these systems that were
Hmm.
put into place. And that is clearly, I'm saying that it's not cutting it down completely, like some people have been making this, you know, this direct, well, what they mean is this.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm talking about, we obviously know that when it comes to the police departments in this country, they don't look too kindly when it comes to the black community. And the same thing with the jail system. So it's about going in there and tearing down and rebuilding it to match what is happening in this country now, to match the people that are in this country now, and make it work that way, and really start dealing with that. Cops don't really need to go on calls when there's mental health issues involved, or other things that are not directly like murder, robbery, or other things. Really start getting a more community-based situation around it.
They still have to get their knee off our necks.
Yep.
They have to do that
And that's
first
why the
because they
conversation
can't
is
even
being had.
stand up.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I just have to point out that Kat has some comments that have come in.
Yeah.
We've got
Oh,
comments. She's
Yep.
correct.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yep.
Next one. That
That's
is
my
Black Power.
Yeah.
That's not-
Like I'm really sitting with that. Like Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, really pressed the notion of policy as the key thing to focus on. which is an interesting addendum to this, because racist policy has been in place, is still in place. Just, it's different. It's all changed now. But so like we have to address those things. Here's my question from the outside. One of the questions that keeps coming up for me is it even helpful to still define, like, are there essential experiences? Like, if you're Black, you've probably experienced this. Is that even helpful?
That would be called good time, sir. You failed that test.
I'm
joking. I'm hazing you a little bit, bro. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry. I know you're being serious.
I would say yes.
But
I
is it
had
helpful?
friends that often were just like, I didn't realize. I find it surprising that they didn't realize this was happening to Black Americans, that happening to Black friends. There are people that will see that and go, wow, I didn't realize that was happening. So I feel that it is a good thing.
Where did they think driving while Black came from?
Exactly. Although I will say,
They make that up.
I think it came up with Hasani. This whole notion that we don't see color, that I would like to stop. Let's just be realistic here.
Yes.
There are many colors in this world. You keep using I don't see color. That's not true. Because you got eyes. I mean, unless you're blind. I'm sorry if you're blind. But yes, you can see that a person is a certain color. It really just comes down to treat that person as you want to be treated. That's really all that should come down to.
All right, that I'm gonna push back on, Teresa.
Okay.
And here's why.
Okay.
Because when I treat you like I want to be treated, I'm putting my values onto you. And there's a power play there that we have to undo. It has to. I think it's moving. Like this is the realm of asking somebody what pronouns they like to use. It's asking for consent about how we address them. It's naming what's in the room. Looking at the fact that we have 5 beautiful skin tones on the screen right now, right? And they're all good. So how do we address that? When we meet somebody, and I don't know what the answer is, but I think me assuming that you want to be treated like me, I don't know. I'm
But see, I
concerned
guess
about
that depends on what your value. For me, I feel like how there's know what right and wrong is. I feel like when I say how I want to be treated, I want to be treated with respect. I want to be treated
Courtesy.
Yes. So I feel like there are just innate values that everybody has regardless of your race.
Basic human kindness.
So when I say how I want to be treated, treat me how, I'm talking about, okay, don't come up to me and be an asshole. Respect. Like, I'm not expecting you to bow down. I'm not just treat me as a normal human being and really think about how you say things before you say them.
Well, and here's where the systemic part comes in. And this is where I think formative experiences are important. So for me, growing up in different neighborhoods forced me to do that. I had to find ways to connect with people that was different than how I would just, if people all looked like me. I'd have a choice because if I had to get along with people. And if we really take an audit of our lives, the majority of people that many of us are around kind of look like us, right? Pretty much come from the same socioeconomic background. So my first challenge would be for people, are you courageously vulnerable enough to put yourself in communities where you don't come from, just so you can attempt to learn? Because what happens is way too many adults right now are saying, okay, this is who I am, right? And now I have to protect it. So I have a community of all Black people or all white people, and I'm not doing anything wrong. They know I'm a nice person. I'm against racism, blah, 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 blah. But there's nothing that makes you go against the line of your own beliefs to even reconsider, hey, you know what? I didn't know this was a big deal because I've never put myself in that situation. I've never talked to anyone who's been in that situation. And so now when you have a turbulent situation where people are holding on to their identities, they're just holding on to whatever they think is right instead of trying to really understand variety. We have to celebrate variety and not say we don't see color, but we have to celebrate it, I think.
It really, like, I guess my question on this, I'm still stuck. We've got some really good comments that we got to hit also, by the way, is I'm stuck around this question of, so how do I begin a conversation from a place of consent so that so it becomes like it's an introduction of, hi, what's your name? And like immediately, hey, what's the most important way I can make sure you feel comfortable right here, right now? Like, or what's the most important way I can treat you? Because it's not even like believing that there are universal values or, everyone wants respect or anything. Because I've met people who just don't have it as a value. I think it's more about like,
that's true.
Well, no, it's not to me. Like, I totally get that. Like, because I come across very disrespectful sometimes. So I appreciate folks like that. I don't have to second guess certain things around them.
I'm with you. I want to see my punches coming.
Yeah, but it does but ask, starting from a standpoint of asking a question starts a conversation differently. And what's the most important, Hasani, what's the most important way I could help you be comfortable on the show today?
Just being you and treating me like a human being. I think we all have grown up with that, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Basic manners, basic compassion for others, and being vulnerable to be in a space that's different than what you're used to. You white, you don't know nothing about mustard greens and cornbread and skillet bread and fat.
Oh no, I do. But
I got you.
I'm just saying, be vulnerable enough to come and open-minded enough. It's funny how Europeans have come here to America and brought the slaves and, the Lord, and we, under God, we trust and carry on. But you can't even treat us the same way, just as basic as you are. You bleed the same way. If your finger got shut in the car door, both of our fingers feel the same damn way. So treat me with some kindness and respect. Don't have me feel so funny around you that I need to put on an air. Just let me be Hasani.
Yeah. Can I chime in real quick though? Honestly, I'm less concerned about the white-black dynamic. I'm more concerned about the black-black dynamic, because what you're describing, Hasani, is 100% true. But let's keep it 100. We don't do that a lot of the time enough with each other. We just talked about it. We see each other in the store, and that hurts me more than, because like I said before, if you don't like me because I'm dark chocolate, okay, like I don't have a physical issue. I don't have an intellectual issue. So unless you start threatening my life in some way, shape, or form, that's a whole nother way I'm going to address this. But if it's just random, I don't have an issue with it. But I do when we can address each other in the supermarket and say hi to each other and how's your day going. Like that level of trauma and undealt with pain, I really want to be a part of correcting that in our community. And I want to have this conversation about it.
Can I share something with you? I got the opportunity to host last year New Mexico Black Expo for the whole state. They asked me to MC all day. I had the whole stage by myself. And Teresa, you know me, I sing and dance and perform and woo, woo, woo. Honey, let me tell you. Now this ties back to us and us.
Yep.
3 a.m, the day of the show, I started throwing up, crying, and and I went in my spouse. I woke him up. I was and I'm literally just throwing up. And I was like, are they going to be able to? Will my community be able to accept me? I'm Black. I'm gay. I don't go to. My father's a bishop, but I don't go to church. I practice Buddhism and open-mindedness. But I really had a panic of how would my community embrace me for hosting a show for 12 hours. I literally physically got sick, panic. So you're right. There is, how do we bridge that? And I think if we just continue to soften ourselves and be more open to the experience of people and not our prejudgments, not the traditional teachings of our mothers and fathers, but open your mind. They did the best they could. Now we take that and we make the best that we can.
Yeah.
But my people had me so nervous. Teresa, you know me. I can dance and sing and skip around the world. But honey, hosting New Mexico, the state, I was literally sick, throwing up, had the whole bit. But we had a good time. And later on, I gave them 4 costume changes. You're going to talk about me. You're going to talk about these 4 costumes, darling. My wife.
I just wanted to point out something before we get, because more comments came in. But I just wanted to say Hasani touched on something that is also, man, I'm seriously, like Donkey, it's layers. It's all about layers, like an onion. That's how I feel that when it comes to the Black community. There's a lot of layers. He touched on something. Not only do you got to deal with the social status when it comes to the Black community, you also got to deal with the religious status, the gay situation, even mental health. There were so many things within the community that is like taboo to even include as part of the community because of how we were all taught. And it's like and nobody, and I'm right there with Hasani. I mean, my mom, bless her, she goes to church every Sunday. I have not set foot in a church and I don't know how long. I started questioning everything at the age of 16. My pastor, not like me, but when he started telling me that every other religion's wrong, Catholics were gonna burn in hell, that my best friend's gonna, burn in hell because he's gay, all of this stuff, and I'm like, but we're all made in God's image, so I don't understand.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. But that is the one thing that I realize when it comes to our community. We're going to have to start really looking at some things and understanding. Like I said, we are all, there's just way too many of us on too many different levels. We're layered. We are, the Black community is an onion. So once we start on one layer, we're going to have to go to another one. There's so much to be discovered and dealt with in the community. But I would say to start is just acknowledging that we're here. Just acknowledging that we're here.
Yeah.
Mary, we haven't heard from you much. What you got?
Oh gosh. I've just been listening a lot. I've just been listening. You're about to wrap up. Actually, Hasani stole some of my thunder earlier about terminology that we use to describe ourselves.
Say more.
I hate it. Yeah. It's just, why would you call yourself that? Why would you accept that you find painful? What? No. I think it's...
And you know where the history comes from.
You know where it is. I don't get it. I don't
matter if you just take that ER off and add an A, you still know where it comes from.
Well, that's because I'm 100 years old. And I remember.
We heard your introduction, Mary.
I'm done.
Okay.
But let me push back a little bit, Teresa. I don't think a lot of people really know the origins of the word. They don't.
Yes. Well, you know what? Actually, you're right. Because frankly, when it comes down to history, a lot of people, I mean, and I'll be one included, I didn't even know what happened in Tulsa until Trump was going there for his rally. And I was just like, there was a massacre?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, there was a
Black Wall Street.
Black community that got wiped out in Tulsa. I didn't know anything about that. I knew about it here in New Mexico. I didn't know about it in Tulsa. But yeah, you're right. There are some generations that don't know their history. And I mean, and there's still some things I don't even know. So yeah, you're right about that. It's a possibility they don't know.
And then here, I think we can probably go a little bit longer today.
Good, because I want to at least acknowledge these comments.
I was gonna say we got
they're
over there. We got starting back up with Sunsiri's comment right after. Yeah, that one right there.
All right.
I feel like we should read it out loud.
We should probably read it.
We're reading it to ourselves.
All right, you got it, Teresa. You got it. You got the best voice.
We need to unify around common experiences to counteract the effects of gaslighting by racial oppression. To then be able to go. Is it? Be able to go to the next level of healing. It's an essential part to the healing plus empowerment process. Agreed.
Yeah.
But we can't get stuck there.
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like that's a problem. We get stuck on one topic, and that's the focus. We got other things to focus on as well.
Well, because it's hard to be comprehensive when you're in a constant state of survival.
Yeah.
And when I say
Yeah.
state of survival, I mean mentally. Okay. I mean, because there are a lot of us in the Native Black American community that have the financial wherewithal, have, a little bit more resources than our parents or whatever the case may be. But psychologically, boy, I mean, we can be triggered very easily, and this is my issue with the whole Ice Cube thing. Like, I don't mind criticism. I think we should criticize what he's presenting, why he's the person presenting, but the visceral, we can't get down with him anymore after 30 years of consistently representing in a way that most people haven't, and then
bearing it on his shoulders too,
Yeah.
and paying the price for it.
and at least, I'm a solutions oriented person. Anybody who says, let's try this, I am going to listen to you, because at least he had that. At least he had something.
And a lot of that was led because of just misleading information of what he was trying to do, and people just like, what? That's what happened? This is why you have to research your stuff before you start commenting on anything. That's really
sharing
upsetting.
it.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
TL talked about it here, and he said this. If you
Not black, you don't. Yeah.
you don't vote
I
for Joe
hate
Biden,
that.
you're not black.
God,
Right.
who was he talking about? He was talking about the fact that he's. Oh God!
Had a moronic
No,
moment.
There's so much
yeah.
there's so much has happened. Can't keep track of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get what he was trying to say and the levity that he was trying to have and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a person. I mean, I'm leading with grace, right? With even with Trump, right? Like, I hear things and I'm like, okay, because I'm gonna be honest with you. He's always, I mean, you can watch The Apprentice from 15 years ago. He's always been the same person. I don't understand this huge surprise of what's happening right now with people. I'm like, he's shown us who he was for the past 20 years. Come on.
He's running a country now. He's running a country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's what it is.
He's
In the
being
business world,
enabled.
you can be this big, bold person and make these decisions that are going to affect your business. And then people are thinking, oh, he's a business person. He must know what he's doing.
No, I'm not saying I thought that, but obviously there were people who thought that.
I
Yeah,
don't understand.
And so my thing is,
Yeah.
you would hope that in the position, like, I was really disappointed, and I'm not overly political with anything, but when COVID hit, there was such an opportunity to just sound presidential, just get the words out.
And you
You know what
just
I mean?
didn't.
And you didn't.
He's had many opportunities to do so. He got it himself and still failed. Still. Major fail.
I'm
Can I
sorry,
say
Mary.
something?
Of course.
If he got it.
I've been telling my spouse, well, we'll get into it later, but I've been telling my spouse that at some point for me now, I just turned 50 about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God!
It feels like
Baby.
so much work to be a black man in America.
Mm.
It's too much work. You talked about the mental part, the whole bit is just, again, I said it in a comic way, but part of the reason why I'm staying in the house is so my black ass don't get pulled over and get shot.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's identity under pressure. Like, that's what I meant when I said that, is that we've got an identity here that is immediately assumed to be associated with negative things, or things that have been painted as negative in our culture.
Right.
Like
So we have another comment that talks about this. So, Sorrel Nichols. Let us.
Go, no.
I was going to read it. I didn't know.
Go.
So he said, okay. Let us not eliminate the historical preference of this country that has molded the black Negro, colored African American, etc. What other race has been identified by so many names? Why? Because it's a mechanism of control. This is still prevalent. Racism is about power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, and that's why it's not good enough for anyone to say I'm against racism and I'm not a racist. I mean, it's about actively being and doing things that are aligned with that, right? And to me, it goes back to the conversation that we had, which was, how do we do that within the black community? And if you're not a part of the black community, you can still be a great ally and advocate with those types of actions that are behind it, like partnering with the right people. Because to me, that's how you thwart all of these things. but the concept of blackness is still very, very
Ethereal.
ethereal.
It's not a.
Undefined.
And so, and you know what?
Refuse
It's
to
power.
put it in a box. Refuse to make it a box that people stuff us into. It's
But we stuff
broader
ourselves.
than
But
that.
Mary,
And
we
that
stuff
too.
ourselves in it
Ourselves
sometimes.
in that box.
I'm
Yeah,
not
and
jumping in it.
it's going to refuse to be defined because its source is evil and power. I'm going to keep coming back to that. There aren't many times when you're going to hear me talking about evil. Like, I'm a fucking atheist. But there are things that are corrosive to the human animal at a level that I will call evil. And racism, sexism, like, these are the things. The way we have constructed all of these things in this country, Cyril's, like, he's fucking nailing it. And he's like, rape isn't about sex. It's about power.
Power.
Racism isn't about race. It isn't about skin color. It never was. Like, race as a construction, it was an attempt to codify a bias of the brain, and it failed miserably because the more they learned about people of different quote unquote races, the more they found out we're all the fucking
Weren't
same.
any different.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's that. I think that's, like, of course it's nebulous. It's meant to be nebulous because it's meant to be put on us. It's not meant for us to claim.
Royce got deep.
Sorry.
No,
He earned his black card, I feel. He earned his black card.
Giving people cards.
I'm gonna make some. I'm gonna make some.
Uh-oh.
Get back to work.
The black cards.
Any other thoughts around this? I mean, I know we can go for probably weeks.
There's another comment up there about that Santerius mentioned. Also, there's more differences between groups than differences between more differences within groups than differences between groups. So we must seek out both and spaces, the both and spaces. I need my black spaces, and I need to be able to discuss and explore and take in and appreciate all of God's creation. Because to be extra honest, I've been hurt most deeply from communities of color, from my own folks.
And I second
Honestly,
that.
I second that.
I second that. It is painful. I have many a story where, wanting to be accepted, showing up as you were, but it may be a little bit different, or Teresa sounding different or believing different things. And
Having different life experiences.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have a picture on my wall of my great-grandfather's church with the sharecroppers and the master's grandson posing with my great-grandfather's church members. You remember, because back in the day, we couldn't have church unless one of them was there to make sure no shit was going on. And one thing about us as slaves, we came here with different languages, and we had to try to figure. The only thing we knew was we were the same color, we from the same continent, and we got a white man with a Bible and a gun telling us to be the slave. So our blackness, in a sense, if I may use that in an empowering term, we figured out a way to adopt the colonialism, white religion, Christianity, and made church for ourselves. So church would be where we could check up on each other. How's Susie Mae? How's Big Mama? That's what church was. We did that to check up on each other. Yeah. But when we became free, all of a sudden we become judgmental of, oh, well, you that, or oh, you this, and oh, you that. And that's part of the destruction of the black community, because, baby, let me tell you how I long to have been raised just a little bit with a little more stank on it. But no, I was raised up in the church and in the military, so it was like you had to be a certain way. But I didn't have the street smart. I had the Holy Ghost and the Bible. And to tell you the truth, I'm not hip on other people's lives. I need to know how to live my life so I don't cuss you out or beat you in the parking lot off at the traffic light.
He talking about stank. I didn't even know what that was till 5 years ago. So
I remember how we went from church to check on each other to now we church and I'm at the pastor's asking me to help you buy a damn jet.
No.
Put that jet money in the community. I was watching something today, and a professor from Harvard said, and I thank God that he made me feel better. He says, I'm a professor from Harvard, and I still don't know all of the Black history. So you brought that up, Teresa. Yeah, church was to unify us, and then it became something that tore us apart because I drive a Cadillac and you taking the bus.
Yeah.
Status, telling you, it's just exactly why this guy. I mean, I've even seen articles of talk of why is it so important? Why is status so important in the Black community? We more concerned about what's on our feet or what we're wearing instead of like starting our own business or helping out those in the community that can't help themselves. Like, why? Why is status so important? It's like we really need to start looking at our priorities when it comes to, to the community.
So, yeah, man.
That was a general Blackism right there.
That's why Blackness.
I said rims and chains. That was so.
Well, you know why we used to do that is because we could not buy houses.
Tell us more about that, Mary.
That is why that is why people who did have money, they would buy cars and buy jewelry to show their wealth and their status because they couldn't buy houses. We were redlined out of places. It's like, oh, you got a Cadillac, but you don't have a house. It's kind of like, oh, where's your dad? And they were shot by the police. All right, being made fun of because your dad's not there. But yeah, no, we couldn't buy houses. So we bought cars and we bought jewelry. Yes.
Where does Blackness fit in? And I'm going to try to say this the most intelligent way because I'm not smart.
Go ahead, put your
How is it our Black performers can go overseas and get major love for years, but here in America, nothing?
Yeah.
Shoot.
My dad played overseas for years. He was in the Air Force, and he always loved going overseas. He was a Falconer. He was at the Air Force Academies. And then he would come home and get called a nasty name and get spit on. And it was like they would bring flowers to them, flowers to the musicians, and were very, very highly revered.
Yeah.
And came back home, called names and spit on.
I saw that when I was in Copenhagen. Just the love for jazz and blues there. Oh my God. I mean, celebrated. Josephine Baker has restaurants. I've been to a restaurant in Belgium that's committed to just her and her music. And
revered.
She's revered. People come in there and they dress up like her like every other week. And no, I've seen it with my own eyes. And it's like, wow. But again, this is where formative experiences come from because I understand why Tina Turner may not live here now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Josephine Baker. And how we relate to each other. One of the challenges that I've had is as I've experienced these things, I lived on the continent of Africa, worked on the continent of Africa, saw a lot of these things over in Europe and then parts of China as well. It completely changes how I process the world, how I process our experiences, and even what racism is too, right? Because it's different in different places. Like I've seen situations in Europe where there's actually been a person that didn't come from the Black community that defended out in public without it being a big social unrest racism that happened in front of it. I was so in shock. I was like, wow, it's like walking around with Royce everywhere you go. So if I had Royce everywhere I went, he'd be like, hey, that's racist against Torian. Like that's what it was like. I mean, and this person wasn't associated with him though. That's what was so amazing. So it's hard to explain that to my own people what I've lived when their frame of reference can be at times can be a little bit myopic. So how do you relate in that way without it being judgmental?
I just recently watched, which I can't believe I sat down and watched this, but it was Black conservatives talking to Black liberals. It was a video I saw.
Where was that?
Yeah, I thought like someone was going to throw down. I thought it was, but they, there was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of yelling. But it's interesting. They did bring up. One lady was talking about the fact that she started, she went to college, she's still paying on her college loans, but she's paying for them because that keeps her credit good, and it gives her the opportunities to get loans or do whatever she can for her business. And I don't understand why we can't do that in this community, and we shouldn't expect the government to just be giving us money or doing this or doing that. And it finally did come to a consensus that like people understood, all of them, that you have to understand there are some Black people in this country that have been told all their life they will not amount to anything. They will not get out where they're at. They will never excel further than where they are right now. So for you to look at a camera and tell them, well, just do this, but not help them do it, there's a problem with that. So
True.
I almost feel like part of the discussion of not only accepting the differences in our community, but then starting to really develop systems that are going to help us out in the community. That's going to make people, when you go to them and say, you can do this, you can be more than this, and
believe it.
Something, they'll actually believe it. It's not bullshit to them. Like, oh, okay, you're gonna be that magical Negro that's gonna help me do all this. No, it's actual real stuff.
It's
right?
real stuff.
Yeah, that's how I that's what I was happy to see getting out of that program.
Can I get me a shirt that says that, Teresa?
I'm not the magical Negro. I'll be on that this afternoon.
Oh my God.
Woo, boy. Yeah.
That gets the quote of the day. All right.
Hey, I'm for real. But you know what though? But it's okay. So we've talked a lot about, especially amongst ourselves, some of the challenges and stuff. But here's what I do love and appreciate about us. We can find levity in just about everything. Like our ability to take less than nothing and turn it into something, tragedy into a joke. Morsels or parts of food and turn it into a feast. Broken records and turn it into a whole genre of music.
Yep.
Whether you like it now or not, right? It was created, and it is permeated. I'm talking about hip hop music. I'm a hip hop head. Every aspect of our life. That I love about us, but that's what makes it so bittersweet, because I know the joy that we have amongst ourselves in our community and how we do the best we can with what we have. I just want that to be able to shine more when it's hardest. And then I also want for people like ourselves on this call, for us to be able to, like you said, Teresa, be able to circle back and be living, breathing models of what is possible in this world. And I don't think it comes from asking and begging other people. Personally, not first.
Well, they have to get their knee off our neck, but other than they have to do that.
Yes.
Well, and I think it's fair also to expect that we have support from each other. Like we are the only country in the world that says the rugged individual is the way to approach life. And we are doing it to our own detriment, as we're seeing in this fucking pandemic right now. We need community to be safe, to be whole. That's why we have a higher death rate than any of the other rest of the G20 nations, because we think we're still trying to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. So yeah, it's one thing to say, like, we shouldn't be waiting for somebody else to give us permission or whatever. I hear that, but I also think, like, and this is why I love marginalized voices, communities of marginalized voices, is because I start to hear ways of weaving us back together as human beings in spaces like this, because we need it. Like, we need each other.
What happened?
See, we should have gone with the boxes, Teresa, because the boxes won't be making funny faces over each other.
Guys.
All right, so we had a question earlier up there from Sarah that I think might be a good one to go out on. We got a bunch of more comments here.
We gotta come back to some of these comments. Okay, so Sarah.
Well, I think this is the way the heading out of the show. Like, let's hit some of the other comments, because I think having our guests
This
answer
would be
this.
good to head out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
so
a
we'll
head
start with TL, a regular on the show. He said, I don't know if I see it that way.
He was
says,
responding, I think, to Pat.
oh, okay. So he thinks that both candidates are
Racist.
overt racist.
Yeah,
Okay, got
yeah.
it. Now, this is Dr. Gaddis, one of my professors in undergrad. He's also a part of study circles here in the local area, and he just talks about, he says, many African Americans are fiscal conservatives. Yes, Dr.
Yep.
Gaddis, you are true.
Fiscal.
I am a physical conservative. So yes, I don't necessarily identify with a lot of those things, but I do think from a financial standpoint, I'm more conservative than anything. Because I break it down to the very definition of conservative to me means to conserve, right? If conserve what already exists, how do I hold on to what already exists? So I think from a financial standpoint, due diligence and where money goes is important. But that's probably the only place that I would think about it in that way.
Being
I
And
don't
it's-
think
and it's
conservatives
again-
even know what it means.
Why are we surprised that that's a place that African Americans might be more conservative? When we look at a community that is under pressure, that's had how many different Black Wall Streets destroyed and ripped out from under them. Yeah, like this is a community that knows it has to be careful. Plus, money is still power in this country. It is
Yeah.
status.
It is.
And I mean, so we're talking about a group that's been disenfranchised from living the American dream systemically. So they're going to hold on to every little bit. Anyway, yeah.
Talking about conservative, my grandmother, we thought the reason why her mattress was so fluffy was because of the cotton. No, dear, it was the money up in that.
Yeah,
No.
because you
My
can't
grand-
trust the
It wasn't no
banks.
mattress, it was an oversized money bag, honey. Yeah.
After the bank, so.
My
You get some
grandfather
old
passed.
black folk, honey, they're gonna tell you about being conservative.
Oh yeah, my grandfather passed. My grandfather passed, and when they pulled up the carpet, it was lined with
See?
$100 bills.
Whoa!
Oh, yes. I'm not
We
joking.
found hundreds of dollars in my grandmother's house. It's like every book. It's like, even then we had to check everything.
Yep.
Every purse, every coat pocket. It was like, oh my gosh.
Shoes.
See, my mom worked for a bank. I just had to learn, like, look, you're going to open a savings account. You need to make
That's
sure
where you
when
put
you go
your
to the
money.
bank, all your bills are facing the same way because tellers don't like it when you do that. You need to make sure all that's right. So, yeah, I don't hide money with, oh, no.
Grandmas did, though. Grandmas sure did.
They did, and in a lot of places where you see a lot of currency exchanges, let's keep it real, right? Because the currency exchanges and check cashing places do not exist in upper middle class and wealthy
They don't
areas.
have to. They
My
don't
grandmother
have to.
bought a car right from her bosom, honey. She was like,
How much is it?
how much is it?
Oh
I
my
missed you,
god.
Hasani.
Where do I sign for the title?
A car from your bosom.
Oh my gosh, that's good, man. That's good. That's good.
I'm like,
What
you
else
are
do we have on here?
Yeah.
So here's something interesting. So Kathy Gaddis said Ice Cube knew Trump is crazy, and Ivana, I think Van Zant.
Yeah.
I never know how to pronounce her name.
Ileana Vesant.
Elliot,
Yeah, Ileana Van Zant. There you go. When you see crazy coming, cross the street. But I took crazy, took crazy in trying to change him, but crazy is crazy. No change in crazy.
Man, seriously, Ice Cube.
Right.
And that's
Yeah, like
I think
how
that's
women
what
pick on a man and think they can change the fact he gonna be a better person with me. That's probably what Ice
No.
Cube was thinking, but crazy.
Okay, so I think that's what TL was responding to, by the way.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And
Crazy.
And I
What
think-
about Kanye? I'm just doing that.
Oh, the birthday party.
No, people need some mental health issues addressed.
but it
No, he's taking away votes. I hear some people have voted for him.
Yeah, because he's Kanye.
He's taking
yeah.
away valuable votes, Mary. That's
God damn it.
Yeah, but see, but here's the thing though. See, the problem with that is, and when you talk about the perception of choice, because I do believe that's what we have, there isn't a real option for us people to go. We can't talk about being able to think more comprehensively and independently and then creating community around critical thought if we really don't have an option for people who we want to put in place to make policy for us. Because we really don't. If we're saying the only way to vote is against the worst option,
It's a hard way to go.
And I think that's consistently TL's argument, and that's what he then goes on with, choosing between overt and covert racism, and then there's a response that, because one of these overt and covert isn't out to kill you. TL didn't go there. I would go there. That the covert racism of the Biden-Harris ticket is you got two people who are so fucking pro law and order, which, by the way, is all about power and is all about capitalism, because there are countries in the world where law and order is not the crime is not the number one thing that they think of when they think about their communities, right?
Right.
This is a fucking pure sign of the American problematic system. But those two have both supported horrible crime and punishment systems that will kill people of color just as strongly as Trump's overt racism. And I think that's TL's argument, and I think it's a solid one. I think it's worth examining.
This is why we need to get rid of the two-party system. There, I said it.
Glory, hallelujah to that.
2024, okay?
Right,
No screwing around this time.
Yeah.
Right, serious.
Yeah. Right.
That to
Screwing
me, I
around
think,
this
is a
time.
bigger
This
issue.
2024.
evil stuff needs to stop.
Yeah, because there are more sane people and people who are really in the gray area of what we're talking about, of all races and backgrounds, that would probably really sign up for that. And what that does to me is it takes people who have traditionally been in power in both parties, including the conduits that we have in the black community that keep us married to the Democratic Party. I'm just going to throw that out there, because we do have conduits, right? Like I was listening to, I'm not going to say his name just because I don't like doing that, but like, he was a comedian on the Kings of Comedy tour, and he has a radio show, and he was very, very critical of Ice Cube. And I'm listening to the whole thing, and I'm like, he's pandering to his base, right? He's not critically thinking about or talking about what he submitted or what he could have done differently. It was a direct criticism so that he could trigger the people he needs to trigger to keep his audience listening to him. And that's a problem for us as well, right? We need to talk about, if this is what blackness is, these are the 1, 2, or 3 issues that all of us need to say, listen, we don't know how we want to get there, but this is what we need to be talking about and fighting for. And nothing or no one gets in between that. I don't care if you're within a community or outside of the community. This is the direction that we want to go.
Exactly.
And we have to be able to do that. And anyway, I'm not frustrated when I talk about it, but I think we have to make sure that we dig deep into what this term actually means before we start saying people like Candace Owens isn't black, or this person is because they do this, or this lawyer represents in civil rights, therefore he's a spokesperson for all of black people. That's not true.
So you mentioned the two-party system. There was an article this last week about what happened in New Zealand. New Zealand's they had an election last week. Their system in 1996 started requiring people to cast 2 votes. You had to cast one for a party and one for an MP. And it's unique because what 99% of the time is, well, what's happened every election since then, except for this one. This was the first time where people voted both of those from the same party. What happens most of the time is they'll cast a vote for one party and then another party. And so both of those votes count. And what ends up happening is you end up with having to govern from a system of plurality. So this is what I mean by a two-party system. That's a system that is inherently biased away from two parties. It's biased toward multiple liberal perspectives, if we want to, still stick with that binary. Multiple conservative perspectives. It starts to look more like a spectrum from multiple angles. So you might have a fiscal conservative, but somebody who is socially liberal, but that's still colored by somebody who says strong governmental programs can help in these areas. You end up with variety in the government. Well, God for fucking bid that. We
used to just say, hey, whoever gets the most votes is president, who gets the second most votes is vice president, and you have to work together.
But what I like about the parliamentary system is that if you don't figure out how you're going to, if the two parties that won the most votes, or, if you can't pick a governing party, you don't get to set up government, and it automatically goes back to vote. The problem with the American system back when we were doing that was the two would just end up deadlocked and shit wouldn't get done for 4 years. And we can't afford to have that. So the parliamentary system allows for some flexibility in there, but it's basically, all right, Torian and Teresa couldn't figure out what cabinet members they wanted for their two parties. Shit, back to the polls, y'all, because fuck this. Y'all didn't work your shit out. Like that
We
to
can't
puts
even
them-
get people to vote every 4 years. Come on.
Well, that was the other thing.
Every 2 years,
Every
and
2
locally
years.
and regionally. That's just
I
a big
voted
show.
average of once a year.
That was the
for-
other thing is they had 57% turnout for this election.
Wow.
And it was the first time, and now it's a much smaller country, so there's going to be challenges with scale, but 57% voter turnout, and this was the first time since they put that in place 25 years ago. This was the first time that a single party won the right to form the government on its own. Oh, well, let's see. It's 2020. All the shit in the world's gone wrong, and this group's been dealing with it responsibly. Maybe we can count on that group. I mean,
No, it doesn't work. It's not in this country.
It's okay. I mean, it's okay for one year, but like it isn't going to be the norm, and that's good. I think.
Things are changing.
I hope. All right. Are we ready for our heading out question? We got more stuff to address.
Yeah, we certainly do. Well, I mean, I just kind of want to throw out there, just we like to end up with what are some things from our guests specifically that we can do more of, do better, or do different that people who are still listening after 90 minutes, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Where's your heart? Can take away and try to apply in their life so that they can do more, do better, do different.
Can we color it differently this time? I think Sarah asked that question earlier. How do you maintain hope? How do you keep your integrity and sanity under that kind of assault?
Okay.
Like, is that the more, better, different this week?
There we go. Yep.
You say bless you a lot. Bless you.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Take your finger.
I just have to think that people are, but it's going to get better. That this is a temporary, but that I'll also look to say what has happened in the last 50 years. It's not fast enough by any stretch of the imagination, but bit by bit, there's a little bit of progress that is being made. And if we give up now, I got kids. You can't. You can't give up.
What do you want?
Give up.
What do you want for the Black community for the next 50 years?
I want for people to be judged by the content of their character. All right, and not to have a paper bag. Can you come in this place or not? That still happens.
Yeah.
That still happens in the Deep South. So I would like for my son not to be not in prison or in jail for 8 hours because somebody else got picked up because he looked like him. No charges. That's what I would really like. Not to be afraid every time he goes out the door.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Where's my magic Negroes now?
Oh my God!
I'm telling you,
we have to be our own. We have to be our own magic. We have to be our own magic. But we have to get some help for people where we are roadblocked. Yeah. But we do. We have to help ourselves, and realizing that, and thinking and saying, you know what? We have it. We have the wherewithal. We wouldn't be here now if we didn't.
Yep.
All right, Hasani, what say you?
I feel like we say a lot of talk, but what about the action? What about more community involvement that includes all of us, every walk of life? More training. I remember growing up as a kid, we were taught that the police were our friends.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. We need some training. Serious training, workshops that people who want to understand the other side of the coin or the other side of the situation, the tracks, the river, whatever you want to call it. Literally some training, some workshops about compassion, more we are the same. But just as we're marching, and protesting, I think some training, some community development, real honest action, not just talk. More hope. What are we talking about? Hope, sanity, integrity. Again, it's about compassion, being more mindful, but being just more open to learn about different things, people that are different from you, people who cook different from you, people who dress different from you. Well, why do you wear that? What is the meaning of this? What is that tradition in Nigeria where you have a celebration and do the head tie of your newborn child? Native Americans, they have where the baby, when it makes its first laugh, they celebrate the laugh and give the supporters and family and friends that wish them well, they give them gifts. Let's just be more open to others, more kindness, more compassion. But seriously, some more training. Let's put funding into community training and development and try to pull this together. It sounds far-fetched, but trust me, I think it might just work if you want to work it.
Nice.
Because without acknowledgement, healing will never, never come. Without acknowledgement, healing will never come.
And it's not one acknowledgement. And it's not, we are done with acknowledgement and now we are healing. Like these things are they're always in motion and we need all of them.
Yeah, that's what loses me with a lot of people when we talk about acknowledgement, we talk about we want to show up as humans, but we don't even want to be generative enough to find out what's important to other people. Or we want to protect our own position so much that we don't have the capability to actually hear what's bothering a large group of people, right? That's what I would like to see broadly. Specifically, though, for Black people, I'm going to go back to the two comments that I've been making for years, actually, but specifically in 2020. The first one is real intent around healing, mental and emotional health. I think that is the very root of our issues, actually, and that might be hard for a lot of people to hear me say. Internally, for sure. It's arguably externally, but internally, I just think that we have to do that. The relationship that men have with women, Black men with Black women, regardless of sexual preference or anything like that, but just how we relate to each other, how we relate to people who are part of the gender, and then how we actually celebrate difference and variety amongst ourselves. Like colorism shouldn't exist amongst Native Black Americans. And then the second one is around economic fortitude and financial freedom. Especially within the system that we're in, everything is built around money and resources. And we have to build them. We have to nurture them. We have to teach. We have to make sure that we're talking about not only how to earn, but how to invest in exponential growth and the difference between rich and being wealthy. But then we also need to reevaluate more collective capitalism, because the cost of capitalism that we live in right now affects people all around the world. I've seen things that are, the fact that it's happening on this planet makes absolutely zero sense, right? And so we all benefit from that. So I think those two things for me are what I would like to see, and I think they're very tangible, but they're hard to do because it takes a lot of self-reflection, not only for people that are part of the Black community, but real allies and advocates of the community to say, how are we showing up? But if we can do those two things, I think we can propel ourselves a little bit further.
Teresa, what you got?
You know, I remember September 11th, and I remember that it just seemed that at that moment we were just all Americans, and I saw so much support and love in that moment. So when I get frustrated by something a politician said, or watching a 10,000 person wedding party try to happen in New York during a pandemic, I remember that, because yes, there's going to be trying times and it's going to make it really difficult to feel hopeful, but I've seen experiences that we have been. So that's what I look at. And just like Mary, I got kids. And I gotta feel like there's more to that we have the ability to change this, so we leave something better for them. That they're not getting this. They're not getting left with what's going on right now. They don't have to be afraid about driving a car and being pulled over by police, because every police officer is horrible, which they're not. It's just
too many of them are.
Too many of them are. And the fact that it's, when it comes down to it, I think really what we're doing today, just the conversations that are being had, that's what needs to happen more, is those conversations, just having talks and being willing to be open and listen to people is where it's going to start. So if I see more of this happening, that keeps me hopeful.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, Royce, it's up to you now. You got to close us out, because you are the white man of the group.
All right, first off, somebody's going to have to say something after this, because
I'm kidding, man.
Yeah, good.
I'm kidding, dude.
I'll say something after. Go ahead.
All right.
We got to be able to laugh at some of this stuff.
Oh,
I'm just saying,
true,
man.
true,
I refuse to let my spirit be broken. So, go ahead.
If the five of us are going to laugh at somebody, it should be the white guy. So I think the thing that keeps coming up for me is this notion of power, and how all of this is about power. Like, even when Teresa, when you mentioned like the post September 11th, but the people who were being discriminated against were Muslims. And we're talking about a community under pressure still today. And it yeah, okay, fine. I'll wave a flag when my Muslim friends feel like they can finally be Americans again. But it, like, that divisiveness within our system is deliberate. I've read Takaki's A Different Mirror. He analyzes Bacon's rebellion, and he goes like law by law and case law by case in the Virginia colony. Basically, Bacon's rebellion was a bunch of freed slaves. At the time, white slaves actually outnumbered slaves from Africa in that colony, and so the white slaves, though, were armed because they were required to be armed by their masters so that they could fight off the native tribal raids on the colony.
Wow.
Right. So this is so you still had a dichotomy and you still had division, but because there were enough white slaves, you had oppressed people so terribly that white people and black people, Irish people and people from Nigeria, or what would become Nigeria, were intermarrying and were having children together and all this stuff because we were all just of the same class system, the same caste. And so when that rebellion happened, the legislature, which of course was all landed, white, rich fucking men, after Bacon's rebellion burned down Jamestown, one of the first things they did was make it illegal to intermarry between these groups. The second thing they did was they stopped using white slaves. So this whole thing was very much about very deliberate decisions to maintain power. So I think we have to be examining that from a policy perspective all the time. And then the other thing I have to go out on is a word to the folks who are great white males. It is very easy for us to go through our lives and never be in a place where we are the majority on gender lines. It's very easy for us to go through life and never be in a place where we are in the minority on skin color or language. It's very easy for us to be, when was the last time a straight white man was the only straight guy in the room, right? Call out to my brothers and sisters that are many gender loving or multi-gender loving. Like, we have to seek those spaces out and we have to learn from them. And I think this one is really significant and important, because when I hear Hasani talk about the fear trope of the angry black man, a big angry black man, the one jury trial I was called into here was for here in Albuquerque was 6'6" something, African American man is how I would describe him in our context. That angry black man, that big black man, is a trope, and it's a way to justify all sorts of violence from white people. What really, when we examine it from what I call the great white male perspective, is that the message I receive is I am never going to be as powerful as that man. This is the mind fuck of all of this stuff, is we constantly are examining, and we know that happens to the community under pressure of this angry black man notion. What we never examine for the great white male is, how are you hurting yourself by believing this bullshit about somebody else because of race or gender? How are you never examining what kind of shell you're putting over your head, what kind of bag over your head on this shit? Like it's that stuff is very, very real. It's not the same, but it is present. And that is, that for me is the argument for killing the great white male. As a great white male, I'm excited about killing this myth of the great white male, because I know I don't have to walk in the room with a bunch of black men and feel like I'm the least powerful person there just because of skin color and size. Like, I can address them as human beings now. Like, that's the so there's my little Teresa, take it home.
Magical Negro.
Go ahead and dance for us. Woo, boy. Yeah.
See, we went out laughing.
See, that's supposed
Well,
to
we
be.
should.
As we should. Well, thank you guys. We really, really appreciate the time. We know we went over, but this is an important topic.
Yeah.
We appreciate
Thank
you
you
coming.
for having me.
Invite you back home with us.
Too.
Okay. And with that, everybody have a great evening. To all our listeners and viewers, check us out. Make sure you pass this on, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, next
All
week
right.
we'll have a YouTube channel.
Sure will. All right. Peace.
Love y'all.
All right.
Thank you.